everyone, here is how I put together a petticoat for a baby or toddler size clothing. Now if my child was bigger, then perhaps I would do a peasant skirt for even more volume, but this style is working for me so far. Now the materials and timestamps are in the description box below, along with a lot of other goodies. So to get started, I pulled out the bodice for Cece Louise. Now any bodice pattern would work. I used Cece Jamie for Audrey's baby petticoat, but you do want to make sure it's a true bodice pattern. You know that it has the entire armhole and that it's not just a yoke. So I cut out 2 of these on the fold for both the front as well as the back, and I lined up the back pattern piece so that the lap mark was on the fold. Now to ensure that the petticoat doesn't poke out from underneath the dress worn on top, I trimmed the neckline and armhole. I trimmed it down to about 1/2 inch. So basically I'm using the pattern to redraft a smaller neckline and a smaller armhole, but this isn't going to shrink the size of the bodice. I'm not taking anything off of the sides. It's simply moving that neckline down and that armhole up to make sure that those areas don't show from underneath the dress that's being worn on top of it. I hope all that makes sense. And it's a good idea to match up the shoulders to check that they are the same length. Now here I was off about 1/8 of an inch, so I am just hiding that up. So then I measured down and ripped 1 panel for that skirt section. This fabric is 60 inches wide, which is about 3 times Audrey's waist measurement, and personally I think that's a good amount of volume for a baby or toddler. Then rip whatever length suits your little one and their dresses. Now keep in mind that you generally don't want the petticoat to show, although sometimes if you put really lovely lace at the bottom, then you want it to show. It just kind of gives another dimension to your petticoat and your dress and your overall look. But anywho, just think about what you're doing and plan accordingly. So finally, I'm ripping 3 panels for that bottom ruffle. Keep that in mind when you are figuring out how long to cut those skirt panels. For the ruffle, I'm going to fold it in half, and then the top 1/2 inch is going to be used in that seam allowance. So just to put some numbers to it, I cut a 7-inch strip for a 3-inch ruffle, since 7 inches folded in half gives 3.5, and that top 1/2 inch is going to go into the seam allowance. I hope that makes sense. So first I joined the bodice together using the bodice ring that I like so much. You'll join every piece at the shoulder seams with right sides together, alternating, so you'll have a front and back, front and back. Then you can iron up in all of those shoulder seams and fold the fronts together so the right sides are touching. Then I sewed around the neckline from one center back all the way around to the other center back, and I sewed around each armhole as well. I'm using a 1/2 inch seam allowance for all of these seams, and these seams are going to enclose all of those edges. So then I can clip the curves, and I say clip every 1/2 inch or so, but once all of those curves are clipped, then you can turn the bodice right sides out, and you do this by reaching through the front of the bodice and pulling the back through on each side. Then I took my little pointer tool and I used that to push the corners out, and I gave everything a really good ironing. Finally, I take those side seams and unfold them so I can match them up with the right sides together. I sew them together and then give them an ironing. This little maneuver not only gives you a very tidy, all raw edge enclosed finish, but it also will allow you to put one continuous skirt if you find yourself wanting to do that, and that is exactly what I'm going to do here. It is so easy, and I love the no side seams look. Anywho, at this point I could work on the skirt, so I am joining the back together. Now you could just do a plain seam down this back and then leave those selvage edge intact, but I'm going to join the back using a French seam, and I have a detailed video linked below on how to do those. Now if you kept the selvage edge intact and did the plain seam, you could just skip doing a placket. This is just going to be a petticoat, so no one's really going to see it underneath the dress, and you could just fold those selvage edge over, and obviously they're all enclosed, so you wouldn't have any fraying. But I didn't want to do that, so I am installing the continuous placket method, and again there is a video linked below. But you do want to make sure that your placket goes over the top of your French seam. Sorry, Henry's playing in the background. You do want to make sure that placket goes over the top of your French seam. You want to include that French seam into your placket. So then the gathering begins, and always with 2 rows of gathering stitches, one on either side of where that seam is going to go. Then I gathered up my skirt, pinned one side to the bodice center back, leaving out that lining, and then pinned the other side to the other center back. And from there I adjust the length of the skirt so it fits the bodice, and then I evenly distribute those gathers. Then I sewed the skirt onto the bodice, again making sure to keep the bodice lining away from the seam. You do not want the lining of the bodice to go into the seam. And then I removed that visible gathered thread and moved on to the bottom ruffle. Now, using Imperial Bodice as the ruffle as opposed to length is a really affordable way to get some extra volume at the bottom of the skirt, plus it's going to be more volume than lace would be. So anywho, to do this, I joined 3 panels together. Just sew them right sides together, and then I can open that seam and iron it down. And then I fold the ruffle lengthwise with wrong sides together and iron that down in place. And then I take it over to my machine and put 2 rows of gathered stitches at the top, and I gather the ruffle so it just fits the bottom of the skirt. Now remember, I've got a 60-inch-ish wide skirt. I mean, I did put a seam in there, but we're going to call it 60 inches for the sake of this conversation. And then the ruffle has 180 inches, which is a ratio of 3:1. Just an FYI in case you put 2 panels into your skirt for a larger size, or maybe you just want more volume than what 1 panel offers. So then following that same ratio, I mean if you wish, that would mean that you're gathering up 6 panels for your ruffle. Just an FYI, doing a little bit of math for you. And yes, it takes a bit of patience to get the whole ruffle gathered. Just take your time and be careful not to break those threads. Then I mashed up the ruffle to the bottom of the skirt and sewed those 2 together with right sides together. Finally, and because this is a tad on the bulky side, I ran it through the serger to enclose those raw edges. If you don't have a serger, I'd rather not use your serger, then enclosing it with the Hug Snug Bias tape is a great alternative. So there you have it. This is how I make a baby or toddler petticoat. I hope this video was helpful. If y'all have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, guys, I appreciate y'all for watching and I hope to catch y'all next time.